guys, it's Rachel, and today I want to talk to you about high school. Cue every living thing groaning in the background. The reason this came to my mind was because this morning in my school, I realized my high school is falling apart. And for me this started last year because last year was my first year in public school and it was my freshman year in high school. It doesn't really rain a lot here, but when it does rain, it truly rains, and it downpoured before or after homecoming. It was like it was before homecoming, and we were all decorating masks in the art room. A couple periods after art I was in lunch and it was still raining, and I didn't really thought anything of it because you're just sitting there like you're eating lunch. There's a bunch of windows but you're not really thinking about it because you're thinking about eating. And I remember the lunch monitors being like, back up, everyone get away from that part of the cafeteria, like there's gonna be some stuff happening. And the next period I didn't have lunch, but I heard people telling me that the ceiling had caved in. And it had. It caved a little bit in the cafeteria, but it absolutely flooded the art room. Now I get it, my school was built in like the 50s or the 60s, so it is rather old, but nothing I guess was updated. But my art teacher was so upset. This was like my third month ever at public school, so I thought like, oh, that's normal, like that happens, right? There was also a bomb threat that year. That's kind of irrelevant. I guess I also thought it was normal for kids to write Hail Satan on the bathroom pass because someone did that in my English class, and I found out who it was this year, and I just remember sitting there like, oh. That brings me to the events of today, in which I had no hope for my like 50-year-old school. As I mentioned in my last video, in brief, I live in the icebox of America. It is literally freezing. Every day but one, I think last week we had 2-hour delays. And today was our first day not having a 2-hour delay, so everyone's like kind of like, okay, like school, whatever, and we're rolling out of bed and going to school. We get there and it is really cold. Like, my school is usually cold, obviously because there's no carpeting and it's all linoleum, but it was colder than usual. My principal comes on the announcements and he's like, so the heating's not quite working. And everyone's sitting there like, really? Because we hadn't noticed. And it didn't get above 20 degrees here today, which is substantially cold for here because people around my school like wear a lot of crop tops and whatever even when it's freezing. Our teachers had to dismiss us so we could get our coats, losing a bit of class time because there was one kid in my class who just like vanished. She was like, ah, okay. And she came back about 10 minutes later. Like, the funny thing about it was that just that morning when I had taken my dog outside, there were 4 deer in my backyard. And I was like, oh my goodness, deer. And then one of them straight up slipped on the ice. And I mean, deer are pretty graceful, so if a deer is slipping on the ice, it's like a little bit of a warning that it's pretty freezing out. We can't miss a day of education. So basically, it appears that weather is not my school's friend. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the bomb threat because for some reason I just think it's really interesting. My school is split up into 2 different schools, a 9th and 10th grade and 11th and 12th grade, because there are like 1,000 kids in my school alone, which is simply 9th and 10th grade. So when there was a bomb threat at my school, we were all sent up to the big high school, which is 11th and 12th grade. I had to leave our backpacks and lunches in school, which was kind of a hassle because I wanted to eat. We get to the high school and we're seated by class. We're not allowed to stand up or talk to anyone, but we can text our parents. Just picture this. There's a giant auditorium with about 1,400 kids packed in it. Not exactly packed, it's a pretty big auditorium. We're all there, and now imagine every single parent coming to high school to pick up their kid. Because nobody wanted to sit there until like school officially let out, which would make pickup and buses even more terrifying. 4 hours condensed into about 30 seconds, everybody's parents came at like 1 o'clock and we were all clamoring to get out. I had someone standing on the stage in the auditorium reading names. Here's Patterson, Mom's here. And ironically, those are my favorite memories of school so far. Keeps life interesting, like what are you gonna do with no bomb threats? I'd love to hear your guys' school memories or school stories that are fascinating and slightly terrifying. So comment them below, and I will see you guys in my next video.